He's one of the originals, a brother, friend for real. Purple fam, can you hear Dr. Fink loud and clear? Leave it in the comment sections. Once again, the man, you all know him, my brother, Dr. Fink. How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. Appreciate you joining us tonight, and we want to ask a few questions more specifically from the Dirty Mind era, kind of limiting what we talk about to that since we're celebrating Dirty Mind 40. For those that may not know, why don't you give them a little insight as to where you come from and how you got your start with music?
Well, I was, raised in Minneapolis like Prince, and I got started playing piano as a child. My parents, were music-oriented and theater-oriented because they both went to the University of Minnesota for theater. They studied theater there. They graduated with theater degrees. And they used to do regular theater and musical theater and all that stuff. And so I was exposed to that at a very young age. One of my earliest memories is seeing both my parents in a play together when I was very little.
Yes.
Maybe 3 years old. And from there, I just took a great interest in the arts because of that, and all forms of the arts, And I did some acting growing up as well,
Okay.
which helped me with, when it came time to do the Purple Rain movie. And, I had a lot of experience doing theater and music as a kid growing up in Minneapolis.
Gotcha. So were the keys and piano your first choice, or do you play other instruments?
I played some drums too. I was interested in playing drums, so I had my own drum set at one point, and piano. I attempted guitar for a while. I worked at it a little bit, but it wasn't as enjoyable for me as keyboards.
Gotcha.
Because I started out on that, and I can play a little guitar, but I always go to better players than me to play on stuff I'm working on or producing on.
Gotcha. So we're gonna get into more of your.
You're really quiet right now, by the way.
How about now? Am I coming through now? My voice is a little low.
Okay.
How about now? Am I good?
That's better.
Okay. So, talk to me about when and how you first met Prince and what your initial impressions were.
Well, the very first time was when I auditioned for the band, and that was in October of 1978. And he broke the ice by joking around about the song "So Blue," which was on the first album. He asked me if I had learned the keyboard parts to the song "So Blue," and I said no. I thought I was supposed to work on "Soft and Wet" and a couple other songs for the audition. He goes, "Well, don't worry about that because there's no keyboards on there anyway." And then he laughed, and he thought that was kind of cheeky because he's testing me to see if I really listened to the whole album and knew that song really didn't have keyboards on it. I think that's what he did.
Right.
But regardless, that was an interesting moment from him early on.
I want to get into how did the doctor scrubs come about? Like, when did that first happen? Did you wear something prior to that? And was there a reason why you changed? We want to get into that whole deal.
Well, the doctor outfit happened because of the Rick James tour. Rick was wearing a jail suit on one of the songs, and that's what I was wearing on stage. And so Prince wanted me to switch up my image, so I came up with the doctor idea right there on the spot with him, brainstorming with me, and I came up with that, and he just said, "That's kind of different. Let's try that tonight." And so, he had people in our camp run out and get real doctor scrubs and doctor accessories and all that, and that's how I became the doctor.
Excellent. So they ran out prior to the show, came back, and the rest is history.
Our wardrobe person, actually. We had, our crew members were on the tour. We had just a handful of people, and one of them went out and went to a uniform shop. This was in Chicago, actually, Illinois at the time.
That's what I was about to ask next. We had one of our Purple brothers want to know, was it in Chicago? And if you have any insight as to which shop it came from, but probably not, since the wardrobe people went out for you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was that last question?
I said, yeah, but the wardrobe people went out for you, so you probably wouldn't know where. One of our Purple brothers asked, did you know where they went to get the scrubs? Was it a
Oh,
hospital?
no,
Yeah.
no. I had no idea.
Gotcha.
They probably went to the local, whatever the closest doctor scrub suit seller was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the tour with Rick James. Talk to us about that. What was that tour, and maybe give us a funny story or situation that happened that's most memorable that comes to mind.
Well, we had been, up until that point, only done a couple small showcase club tours around the U.S., and that was it. We hadn't done a lot of gigs yet. And then our management people managed to get this opening slot on the Rick James tour. Excuse me. Oh, it's been a long day. What was interesting is, Prince at that time, throughout most of his life, really, he was totally dead set against doing drugs and all that stuff, And if anybody in the band was doing drugs, usually, if he found out, you'd get in a lot of trouble. And, of course, Rick on that tour was doing the Fire It Up tour,
Yeah, we know.
which was all about the smoking the weed on
Firing it up.
stage and the whole thing.
Right.
So he kept trying to get Prince to get high with him and smoke weed before the show, after the show, during the show. And then he was also drinking a lot of Courvoisier cognac on the stage, too, along with all that. And for all I know, there may have been some other white substances going on, too. But I wasn't aware of that. I just know that Prince was highly perturbed about that at times. And, yeah. So that was one bone. That was a bone of contention,
So,
as they say.
do you
between the
recall,
two of
like,
them.
if Rick said something to Prince about changing the look while on that tour?
No.
You don't
No.
recall how that came about?
No, the whole doctor thing was just because Rick was wearing the jail suit, and then Prince saw that.
he
Said,
came-
Yeah,
oh, gotcha.
the headliner's wearing a jail suit on the one song, which was "Bustin' Out of L7."
Right.
So he just thought, because we were the opening act, I shouldn't be wearing a black and white jail suit.
Gotcha. So when you guys returned from that tour, what was the very next thing you guys worked on?
It was the Dirty Mind album is what started to happen for him. The third album.
And talk to us about your specific contribution to that album, because you are credited, the first to be credited in a Prince album, third album, for your contribution. So let everybody who may not know the story behind how that title track came to be, that ultimately led to this outstanding piece of work, how that came about.
We were just rehearsing one day, like we always did, and Prince was into jamming before every rehearsal. Let's see what we can come up with, guys. Let's just make stuff up as we go. Here's a chord progression. Let's play some stuff against that. Here's another chord progression. Oh, who came up with this? Oh, that's cool. So next thing you know, I'm rocking out, and I came up with the whole Dirty Mind vibe on that song on the keyboards, and he went, wow, that's really an interesting sounding thing you got there. That's pretty cool. Hang on a second. My phone is ringing here. Sorry. And so I just said, he said, that's a great part you're doing there. I want you to come out to the house tonight. I want to work on that with you. So he had me come out to his house, where he had a little home studio set up. And I got there, maybe 8 or 9 at night, and ended up leaving about 1 a.m., I think,
Wow.
after we tracked all the parts. And then I left, and he wrote the lyrics and melody and added more guitar and brought it to rehearsal the next day.
The next day.
Yeah, the next day.
And
then-
what was your thoughts when you walked in and heard the playback?
I was astounded because he did it so quickly. And then he said, yeah, I really like this track, Matt. I think it may become the title track to the next album. That's what he said.
Wow.
And I said, wow, that's exciting. I really grateful to be part of this, and being able to contribute to your project. So it was great.
That's wonderful. So talk to me about some of the more iconic photos that have surfaced from that time. You with your stethoscope on the wall, different images that have been placed out there from that particular era. Where were you guys located in some of those shoots? Were they impromptu? Were they scheduled? How did that go about?
Could you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Some of those classic photos from the Dirty Mind era, like with you with your stethoscope checking the wall and everybody kind of
Oh,
in
that
the room.
stuff. Yeah. Well, that was just really again improvisation. We're basically just Al Bolio was the photographer. He's running that, and he was making suggestions. Okay, well, we're going to get on this bed. We're going to look all messy on the bed. I'm sure the concept was Prince's, though, more than anything, to do all that in the room. And then, the part where I'm listening to the wall, it's just something that came naturally to me because I got a stethoscope in my hand.
Right.
And I'm, trying to look like the Dirty Mind doctor listening in on someone's conversation in the next room.
Excellent. Makes sense. I like that. Now, the videos that you guys shot from the Dirty Mind album, they all appear to be at one location at one time. Was that a performance like uptown, and all those videos were kind of seemingly shot at the same location? Prince was in the same outfit. You guys like maybe took footage from a show and turned it into videos. What was that?
That was just a sound stage in L.A., in Los Angeles, that they, rented to do the videos at, and they set up our stage in there, and we went for it, and they brought a small audience in, so we'd have a live, group of people in front of us perform, so we could perform to that. Even though we're lip syncing to the track, they wanted to have a live concert feel, Yeah.
And with some of the artwork that we were just mentioning, what did you learn about how the album cover came about? For those that may not know the image in the background or how that whole day might have went with a photo shoot, were you guys there, and then, or was that a separate shoot? That was a totally separate shoot?
Yeah, it was a whole separate thing that he did, and I saw it when it was done.
Wow.
So I wasn't privy to any of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, when you and Lisa worked together, how did you go about dividing up the keyboard parts and the cool solos and determine who's going to play what and how that was going to be laid out?
Well, it was usually a combination of Prince and the two of us working together to figure that out, pretty much. And, sometimes we just sit there and go, well, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? Which parts you want to grab? Okay. Nah. But sometimes Prince would delineate those things too. Just depended, song to song.
We had someone sent in that wanted to know, Dirty Mind has a demo-like sound. Were there any thoughts ever given to polishing the sound up more, or was it purposely done in that fashion?
That's a good question. I know that the record label, when they first heard it, thought it was a bit demo-ish too, and they wanted him to polish it more and add some things to some of the songs. He told me this in his meetings with them, and I just he didn't want to do that. He wasn't happy with Warner Brothers doing that and telling him what to do. So he basically rebelled and said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And they just went with it because his contract really gave him full control over what he wanted to do.
Now, was there any tracks that didn't make the cut for Dirty Mind? Is there any music out there that we're going to be wowed by later, or anything that you could share with us from that time that you guys worked on that you thought maybe would make it, didn't make it, anything like that?
I'm afraid I don't know that answer to that one.
So you guys basically worked on the music that ended up being on the album. It was basically limited to that, or there were other things that were thrown in?
Well, the reality is this. He wrote, performed, and produced the majority of that album. I believe he had Lisa do the vocal on the song Head. I did a synthesizer solo on the song Head. Had the co-write on Dirty Mind, and then the rest of it was just all him. Like he did on the second album was all him. First and second album was just him alone in the studio.
Gotcha. Another one of our Purple sisters sent in, wanted to inquire about, over the years, did you find that the bands rehearsed more when you had fewer songs that were being incorporated into a project like the Dirty Mind era, or did you rehearse more as your repertoire grew?
This is awful prints.
Well,
And they look black.
no,
and
the
white, but it's actually
the rehearsals really
Shout out to
were
Tiffany, my cousin,
pretty
for
much
hooking me up.
timed, the same way from tour to tour, from album to album. I mean, it was like a 9 to 5 job for all of us. It was a job every day, except for maybe Sunday, unless he really needed to go Sunday. Sometimes, when you're getting ready for a tour, you would rehearse every single day, especially the last couple weeks leading up to the tour, because they'd have to do technical rehearsals and lighting cues and do all that stuff, and stop and start the songs every 20 seconds or more, sometimes longer, sometimes less, because
Gotcha.
they're doing lighting cues. They have to figure out how the lights are going to go and what's going to happen and timing, and it's all just very intricate and detailed, and Prince was highly involved with that, with the lighting director. And but yeah, rehearsals, just basic rehearsals, were always the same. It was you'd show up at work, get there in the morning, do some rehearsing on your own, Prince will show up, and then we go the rest of the day all the way up until 5, anywhere between 6 and 8 at night. And then he would leave for a short time, maybe get a little dinner, and then he'd come right back, go in the studio, work all night, maybe get to bed by 5,
Wow.
6, then he'd be up again at 10,
Wow.
11 a.m., and starting over the day again,
Wow.
doing that again, day to day. That's how dedicated and a hard worker he was at his craft. I don't know how we kept up with him, because even at that age, when you're in your early 20s at that time, like we all were, you could stay up all night. Sometimes you could stay up a whole day and go into the next day without getting any sleep. But day in and day out like that, I don't know how he did it.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. I tried. he just, I needed, personally, I survive better on 6 or 7 hours of sleep a night. Ideally humans are supposed to have 8.
Right.
I know that Prince, I don't know how often he got the 8 hours, the magical 7 or 8 hours, but I know that he regularly was, working on fumes, as they say,
Right.
or getting 4 hours and then, doing it again the next day and whatever he was doing,
Well, why don't you let the people know how they can find you on social media, talk about maybe what you have going on nowadays. I know I've been fortunate enough to see you a number of times at Paisley Park for various events. It's always been a pleasure engaging with you and Mrs. Fink. And here in Houston, when you guys played at the House of Blues, that was an awesome show. So we appreciate the love that is always shown to Houston. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us tonight. We felt it was apropos to talk to you specifically about Dirty Mind because of your influence in that album. So once again, we have much love, much respect, and God bless you and your family, and thank you for joining us tonight. So
Thank you.
Any last words you want to give to the people so they can know where to find you on social media, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm on Facebook. I'm as Matthew Fink. I've got Dr. Fink fan page also on Facebook, and just a regular page that I started back in 2006, that long ago already on Facebook when they first started. And then I have a Twitter handle, which is Dr. Fink 1980. On Twitter, and then I have Instagram, which is Matt Fink on Twitter, Matt Fink 1, and that's all my social media pretty much right now. And then I'm working with a wonderful new company here in Minneapolis called V Media Entertainment, and under that umbrella we have a record label called V Records, and we have a music streaming service for independent hip-hop and R&B artists called My Music. Okay. You can go to mymymusic.com and check that out. And that platform is about to expand into all genres of music besides hip-hop and R&B, which has been our focus for the last 2.5 years. And I'm currently running the catalog and licensing division of the record label, which means our signed artists, I'm seeking sync license work for movies and television and commercials and video games and things like that. And one of the divisions at the company here in Minneapolis, which is, our company's owned by ADX Labs here in Minneapolis. So V Media is part of ADX Labs. Their game division, video game division, is just finishing up a game called Rhythm Rumble, which I helped to produce all the music for.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I brought in several other composers to work with me. It's a fabulous project. It's music based, and that'll be out this spring of 21.
Okay.
So that's going to feature some really great music, and got some good people from all over the planet working on that project. It's all instrumentals, of course, but there'll be a soundtrack for it, and it's exciting. My
Awesome.
first project for that company. They're fairly new as well.
You guys be sure to check out Dr. Fink.
And wait, one more thing. I have to plug one more artist on the record label.
Yes, do, please.
Who happens to be my son, Max. And his stage name is Max Millie, and that's spelled MVXMILLI. I'll say it again. It's like Roman numerals. MVXMILLI. Max Millie. He's on Spotify, and it's really great music. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his dad. And I just want you all to know that I did not sign him to the new record label. It's not my label. They just happened to like his stuff, so they wanted to sign him.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you guys,
I'm very proud of him that he's doing it on his own without a whole lot of help from his dad.
Awesome. You guys be sure to check out the Next Generation.
That's right, guys.
He's the Next Generation.
Got a touch of that Minneapolis sound, and he
Yes.
even makes a few references to Prince.
Awesome.
In some of his songs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know everybody's excited to see you and hear from you, and we do really appreciate the love you've shown to the movement we have here in Houston to keep Prince's legacy alive. A portion of everything we do goes to Prince-related charities, making sure our local artists are taken care of. So we want to show respect to PRN Alumni Foundation and to Yes We Code. That's who we plan to benefit and bless from this endeavor, but we also incorporate other entities like Black Lives Matter Houston chapter as it pertains to George Floyd, and we do other charitable work in the name of Prince and his legacy and music, which you played a extremely significant role in, and we appreciate you providing the soundtrack for many of our lives and still to this day. So,
well, and I have to thank Prince too, because he was truly the brainchild behind it all, and we couldn't have done it without him.
Yes, sir. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the big brother, Dr. Fink.
All right.
Y'all give it up. Y'all give it up.
Uptown, baby.
Uptown, baby.
Uptown.
And once again, we want to shout out to the independent insurance agents. That's theinsuranceconnect.com. Be sure to look up my girl, Tiffany Campbell. She's a proud sponsor of the Dirty Mind 40. Once again, Dr. Fink in the building. Appreciate your time, brother, always. What do we have up next?
Thanks, guys. Take care.
So we're going to kick it back to the band. We have